Okay. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Sterling. I am an alcoholic. I'm happy to be here tonight. And I want y'all to know I always start my talks with a joke. Y'all ready for a joke? Alcoholic joke. All right, these three guys are sitting at the bar, a couple pitchers of beer, having a good old time. And the one old boy looks through the window and he sees a help wanted sign at the sheriff's office. He told his two buddies, he said, man, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to get that job. And they laughed. They said, yeah, right, man, I was to see this. So he gets up, leaves his beer laying there, walks across the street, knocks on the door, and the sheriff answers it. He says, can I help you? He said, yeah, I want to apply for that job for deputy sheriff. And the sheriff said, well, come on over here, sit down, let me ask you a couple questions. He said, first question, what's 1 and 1? The guy goes, well, that's easy, 11. And the sheriff says, well, that's not really what I was looking for, but that's pretty good. He says, next question, give me 2 days in a week to start with a T. He said, well, that's easy too, man, today and tomorrow. He said, not really what I was looking for, but I can't argue with the answer. He says, all right, third question, who killed Abraham Lincoln? And the guy says, well, heck, I don't know. He says, well, I'll tell you what, when you find out, you come back and let me know, and we'll talk about it. So he goes back over to the bar, sits down with his buddies, starts drinking again, and finally they go, well, how'd it go? He says, it went pretty good, man. I've been assigned my first murder case. That's the way we alcoholics think, man. But, yeah, so my sober date is 4/28/10. I just celebrated 14 years and a half. Yeah. Only by the grace of God do I stand here, and I'm about to tell you all about that. And just like Sheila was saying, most of our stuff goes back to childhood, and the longer you're sober, the more you can look back and kind of see how things went astray. And, in my household, it was kind of always customary at Christmas. The parents were having a couple drinks, and I had an older brother. So we always made sure I got that drink, and he was always looking out for us. But so at that, I had that first drink, didn't really think much of it. But then, later on, my brother now, he was a partier. He qualified for both of these programs we're in. But and so do I. So I finally asked him. Now my mom's drink was Southern Comfort, and I says, "Will you get me some Southern Comfort?" So he got me a half pint. And I drank that down, man. And you know how you feel when you have that first drink, man. It's like you're a whole different person, man. All of a sudden, you look good. You can dance with girls. Everything's going real good. But you know what happened was I went and laid down to go to sleep, right? And the bed started spinning. And I went, whoa, I don't like this. And then a few minutes later, I had to get up and go to the bathroom, but I had to throw up. And I said, man, I really don't like this. Now, what I figured out at that time was at a very young age, I started controlling my drinking because it took a long time to get the bed to stop spinning. I would go to bed many nights. But, I finally did it. And so let's, I guess, move it up ahead to elementary school, right? And so in elementary school, now this is what happened. My older brother, he messed up. So my parents made me go. All my friends went off to public school, the big high school where everybody was. My parents sent me to a Christian school. And man, I hated it. It was like terrible. I mean, talk about resentments right off the get-go. As a young kid, it was terrible, man. But I got through that. I'd always go home, and party with my buddies. We had up there, I'm from Virginia. And we had a swimming pool up there, which was only really summertime. You'd swim in the swimming pool. But you know what was across the street from the swimming pool? The woods. How many of y'all hung out in the woods? Come on now. Yeah. Now, I think the only thing I remember was how big could we make the Rolling Rock pile in the mountain, out of glass. It was Rolling Rock glass back then, man. It got pretty big, too. But we'd have a lot of mischief in there. Up there, they grow crab apples. So I don't know what you do with a crab apple. They were all sour and stuff, but all we did was throw them at cars, And, man, we was, I ran with some guys that were, we were just always out, smoking cigarettes. I remember as a young age, I don't know if people do this today, but we would, you take your buddy, breathe in 10 times real deep, and then hold and pass out. I see somebody was doing it, And then, we were doing that, smoking cigarettes. But, one day the guy goes, somebody did this and they didn't wake up. And I go, whoa, we better not be doing this. So we were just into crazy stuff, man. I remember throwing them crab apples in the car one night, man. If this guy would have caught us, he'd have killed us. Luckily we knew all the back alleys and how to get away. But just crazy as kids running around. I mean, I had a paper route with my buddy. Now we moved up to high school now. Now at high school, every morning for those 3 years, 10th grade to 12th, there wasn't 9th back then. Tells you how old I am, but we'd meet in my buddy's bedroom, man. Bong session every morning before school, and maybe a little bit more than that too as time went on. But high school was high school. Now this good friend of mine, which has disappeared now. I thought he was my best friend growing up, and I spent my whole career with him trying to keep him out of trouble because he was trying to get us in some serious trouble. I remember one night, man, we had some other buddies. We'd ride our bikes over there, and they'd be, smoking the wacky weed, and they were growing it and stuff, and he says, well, let's go rob them. I said, man, you're crazy, dude. He said, we'll wear ski masks and stuff, I said, you're crazy, dude. We can't do that. They'll recognize us. And then one time we had a paper route, had the biggest paper route where we lived, right? And we delivered a paper to this Peugeot dealership, and there was all windows there. And you could look in and see the keys hanging there. He says, man, let's steal us one of them cars. I said, you're crazy, dude. They're going to know it was us. I mean, he was just, I remember the first time he brought a bag of weed, I said, man, we can't do that. You can't do that. And who ended up being the biggest weed smoker of them all? Me, But he was always the next thing to get in trouble. But anyways, him and I had this dream, man, to go to California. About 8th grade, that dream started. And, man, I hung on to that dream, 5 years? 5 years to go to California. And, man, I could not wait. And then it got there. I remember the last night of high school. It was 1976. And, oh, God, here it comes, the Cottonmouth. I hadn't had Cottonmouth since I quit smoking weed, man. I quit pot, pills, liquor, fast food, and sodas all at once. It was a miracle, man. It was a miracle. But anyways, it was 1976. Paul McCartney came to the first concert in America, Andover, Maryland, which was 3 hours from where we live. We thumbed up there. I remember we got pulled by the cop, says, you can't thumb here. And, we waited till the cop left. Anyways, got up there. And anyways, the point of the story is if we didn't get back to class that time, we wouldn't graduate. So we went up there, saw the concert, came back. And then on the way back, some guy gave us a ride. And then we fell asleep in the car, passed where we were supposed to get off. And, man, I had to walk miles to get home. And he made it to class. I didn't. So I had to go to summer school now. Now, don't worry, because I'd gone to summer school ever since the first one. I found out that, first of all, you got to meet, and there's like 5 high schools had summer school at one school. So there's, more association with more crazy people that didn't make it either. But that's the way it went. So, anyways, we waited till the end of that summer, and then we were planning to go to California. Man, I couldn't wait. We were going to thumb to California. So my buddy, right when it was about time to go, he says, my parents want me to go to college. And I was so deflated. I turned to my other buddy. I said, you want to go to California? He said, yeah, man. I said, dream back on, right? And this was meant to be because he had an aunt out there. Now, we went with three of us, 3 guys from high school. This one guy, his parents were moving to Muskogee, Oklahoma, right? And we loaded up the truck, moved out there, and by all rights, probably would have stayed in Muskogee, Oklahoma. They bought this antebellum-style home, cut it up into 4 apartments, gave us one of the apartments. We got a job at the electrical plant out there. I was a pipe fitter's helper for the first time. Bought my first car, 1960 4-door wingback Chevrolet from the sheriff, which had a broken mirror. I can't remember what it was. But he says, yeah, you're all right. I'm the sheriff. As long as you get these fixed eventually. Right? So anyways, here we were making our sandwiches, going to work. Man, life was good. I had a car to drive us there. And, what happened was we went out on a Friday night. Now, my other buddy, he just liked to drink and party a little bit more than me, right? He just died not too long ago. It's amazing how many of the people that don't get sober are dying off. It just happens that way. But anyway, so we got drunk one night, and this guy about kills our other high school buddy. About kills him. Parents kick us out. We ain't. And I left the car on the side of the road. I said, this thing ain't going to make it to California. And it was still illegal. I hadn't fixed the stuff. But so we just grabbed our bags, walked out to I-40 and started thumbing to California. And I'll never forget it. Two alcoholics picked us up. They had rolled up jeans and white T-shirts, So I was kind of nervous about this deal. So we're driving, and I remember one time, we stopped and bought them a case. And they went back and opened up the trunk, and I looked in the trunk, and it was nothing but dirty clothes. So anyways, somehow we make it from Muskogee all the way to, and then they said, we're going to turn up here and go to Northern California and get some money from a relative, right? And they turned, and I looked back and saw L.A., 107 miles. Never forget it. I said, we'll get out right here. So we get out, and we go to her, go see his aunt, and she gets us a job at the California Umbrella Factory. I mean, it was looking good, man. She got us a couple bicycles, and I can't remember where we were staying, but she got us some furniture. I think we were staying with her, but anyways, so life was going pretty good there. And then it was his, I can't remember what it was, but his nephew, her son was related to him. So he came up and asked him if he wanted to go help him do this job, he was starting a tile business. And he said no. And I said, well, I'll go. So I went with this guy and started doing this tile business. And anyways, it didn't work out for him. He went back, and I stayed with this guy. And the next thing, I was there about 9 months this time. And I started seeing some stuff going on. These guys were coming in with suitcases and stuff. And I didn't really know what was going on, but I kind of did. But anyways, it didn't work out for me after 9 months. I went back to Virginia. I'd done a few tile jobs with him. I started working with an Italian tile setter. I've been doing tile for 50 years. Ow, my knees hurt just thinking about it. But I love it. Anyways, so I go back. Now my buddy's already dropped out of college. I said, man, we got to go back out there, man. There's some stuff going on. We got to get out there. So anyways, my dad helps me get a truck, an old 71 Chevrolet, man. We put a camper on it, built a bed, man. His mom sewed us this big pillow. I wasn't gay or nothing, but anyways. And we had a nice trip across the United States. So we go there to these two friends of ours. They had moved there. They were Air Force, right? And they had a place. They left at the beginning of high school. And then they moved to Riverside, California. So we go out there with them. And the parents take us in. We knew them, we was from, in the hall of elementary school, we hung out and did them crazy crabapple things. So anyways, we get out there, they take us in like we're their own kids, man. He's at one house, they're across the street from each other, perfect California setting, they each got swimming pools. I get a job at Arby's Roast Beef, my buddy gets a job at a gas station. And the next thing you know, this guy calls me and he says, hey, because I let him know we were in town. He goes, why don't you come down here to Laguna Beach, watch my house and my dog, and finish this tile job for me. So we went down there, and anyways, he was doing this crazy stuff. Now, how many of y'all saw Scarface? I know everybody saw Scarface. Well, basically, that's what I'm talking about. How about Midnight Express? Whoa. That one came out when I was doing this stuff, and let me tell you, I was not cut out for this stuff, man. I can remember going across the border, right? And I would be sitting there with my jeans on and rubbing my hands. I could hold my hand up and be like the kitchen faucet was on. And I look down, my jeans are soaking wet, right? I was not cut out for that stuff. But here I am, just out of high school, a year out of high school. And he says, if you just ride with me, I'll pay you $2,000. I mean, that was a lot of money in 1977. So anyways, I got messed up with that stuff. I got messed up bad. I mean, it was, I love telling my story because, I wouldn't change a thing. It was God's path. I mean, I don't think he liked the decisions I made, but he protected me through it all because I could have possibly done 14 years out there. And anyways, got real lucky on that one. But I was out there about 8 years. I mean, it was good times. You know, some of these stories I can't even tell because, you know, this is Alcoholics Anonymous. We try to keep it to the drinking, but I'm gonna tell it anyway. How about that? These guys, I swear to God, they invented bass. They invented it, right? And then one time we're there, and these are older guys, old men, and they're sitting there passing around this pipe. And you know, when you get the pipe, you don't hold on to it. You don't want to let it. And then an older guy around the room, around the table, is going to start crying for the pipe. I said, man, I do not think this is the one I want to be doing, man. I learned right there. Now, it still took me 25 years to get off the white. So anyways, so 8 years there, I finally come home to Virginia. You know, it didn't work out, and I can't tell that story either. But anyways, I mean, there's just some crazy stuff. All right, so I got my number 1 DUI out in California, and it was like, you know, back then, you know, it was just before the cops would, you know, say, leave your car here and we'll let you all come, right? This was, I woke up in the Orange County jail, man. I thought I was in Mexico, man. There were all Mexicans in there, man. You know, nobody was speaking English, man. I didn't know where I was, didn't know where my truck was, didn't know nothing. So first DUI there. So I get back. I remember coming over the hill, 6 days on the road. I'm going to make it home tonight. Was on the radio. And a cop lights me up coming down this hill into Virginia. He says, son, I don't know. Oh, no, that's the second time I came back. Wait a minute. I got lost there. So I come back. Anyways, I went back for another year. And then I came back. It didn't work out. I came back. And this time, I'm coming. Oh, no, that year I went home. I got a DUI in Virginia, right? So when I got that DUI, I said, bam, I'm going back to California. Didn't do nothing about it, right? So this cop pulls me, says, I don't know what kind of trouble you're in, but you better get straightened out. So this time I came back to Virginia. I had to get a lawyer and start going to AA meetings. First time, all right? Now, up until then, I'm the kind of guy that's sitting in the bar, and I'll drink you under the table, man. You know? I come from a long line of alcoholics, and I did. My dad was an alcoholic. My grandpa was an alcoholic. And that's the way it was. But when I had to go to AA meetings and you had to say, hi, my name's and I'm an alcoholic. So I heard this other guy say, oh, well, I'm an alcohol abuser. You know, all of a sudden I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just an alcohol abuser. I don't know about this alcoholic stuff. So that was DUI number 2. And then I go to meetings for a year, right? A year, whatever it took. I remember I went into the lady. They could do a little counseling, right? And she says, well, how much do you drink? I said, well, probably 2 beers a night. Isn't that the pat answer? Right? She goes, well, we found that somebody who drinks 2 beers a night usually becomes an alcoholic. I said, you're kidding me, man. She had me, man. She had me. But so anyways, I finished that one. About a year, all the stuff was done. We go down to North Carolina. Bam, another DUI. So 3 of them in 3 different states. Crazy. That's crazy the way we are. But back then, you know, they really weren't that bad. I mean, I had to do the AA stuff. But, you know, today you get 2. What's 10 years? You might lose your license, something like that. I tell people, man, you're better off committing murder, man. You get these AA things. It's crazy. It's crazy. So anyways, I'm back in Virginia. I start my tile business. Things are going good. Still trying to get, here it's 10 years later. It's my 10-year high school reunion. I get back there. I go to my high school reunion, and that white is everywhere. It's everywhere. You know, so we used to go up in the country and party with my buddy. Now, this is where, you know, in the doctor's opinion, it says, you know, the true becomes false. You know that part? Well, you new guys need to read it. It's the doctor's opinion. So anyways, the true becomes false. So I remember this because now we'd go up in there, we'd go to the liquor store. Buy cases of liquor, have it all because, you know, it's a long way to the liquor store. We'd start drinking. Next thing you know, about 1 o'clock or whatever, we're out of liquor. And then, so when the guys get there, they put their keys in a bowl. We ain't driving. We got all the stuff we need. But anyways, we drank it all, and then the guy goes, give me my keys. I'm going to the liquor store. Whoa. You said you weren't going to do that. The true became false. What we said we were going to do didn't matter anymore. But did a lot of partying out in the woods. Love that. So anyways, here it is. I'm coming. I meet a girl. We come to Florida. Her sister was building a house down here. And I came down here and met a tile guy. He goes, I got all the tile work you ever want to do. So anyways, once I got to South Carolina and saw my first palm tree, I said, man, I'm moving. I'm moving, man. Like Jimmy Buffett said, which way you heading? He says, south. So anyways, I got here to Florida. Now what happened now? So it's just about everything. I had the disease of more. Alcohol was never, ever enough. Alcohol just got the party started. And then it didn't matter what you had. This is another thing God looked over me. Because, man, it didn't matter what you had. I would take it, and it was never enough. I remember the one time, I better stay off the drugs. So anyways, I moved here, but I can't because it's really in my story. So anyways, we moved here and finally got off that white. Now drinking, that white, all it does is make you drink more. But anyways, what happens when we get to Florida? What do they got down here? Opiates, oh God. Just a vicious cycle. Now, I moved to Florida. For 20 years, I drove drunk in this town, Palm Harbor, where I live. 20 years. We had a couple kids. Now, I thought I was the best dad in the world. Believe me, I took my kids everywhere. I took the neighbors' kids everywhere. And I thought, I knew I couldn't get another DUI, so I was really driving the best of my... But still, I had that coffee mug, the big ones they sell at 7-Eleven, full of vodka. And I drive those kids everywhere, and... only by God's grace, I didn't. So anyways, I moved here. We have the kids. And I do pretty good. I think I rammed in somebody one time. And, Now, I did that sober not too long ago. So you don't have to be drinking to do that. I think I fell asleep from the pills. But anyways, got out of that. So now... I think I'm the best dad in the world. Now, I can remember coming home and, I'd come in 5 o'clock and my son, he was about 12, 13 at the time, he'd go, Dad, you're drunk. And I'd go, well, how do you know I'm just not in a good mood? And then, 5 minutes later, at 5 o'clock, I'd be passed out on the bed. And what a dad I thought I was. So, anyways, now this friend of mine that I'd met down at the tile store, he worked there, right? Now we really hit it off good. He liked to party just like I like to party. He had kids the exact same age as my kid, girl the same age as my girl, boy the same age as my boy. And the only different thing about this was he had already given up his license. I'd pull it, because they'd take the bus, but sometimes I'd pick him up and take him to work. I'd say, what are y'all doing in there? He said, well, we're having our breakfast beers. Now, I couldn't do that. I would take some pills, but I couldn't drink anymore. I had to go put the towel in, man, the whole house all day long. So anyways, and then I'd go pick him up at night, and I always had the cooler packed. I mean, big old handle, pocket full of goodies. By the time we got to the first light, we were right where we needed to be. So anyways, I'd carry him over to Larghetto. Y'all ever heard of it? Right? So to what I call Disabled Alley, right? So I'd carry him over there, and man, we just get ready to get... Now, the reason I call it Disabled Alley, because I'd pull into this apartment complex, and there's no cars, right? But as soon as we pulled in, it's like they were waiting for us, man. The doors opened, people started coming out, because they knew I had the cooler packed and a pocket full of goodies. So, they'd get to party, and I did this now here. I'm hanging with the lowest of the low now. Here it is about 2008. What happened was, that economy crashed. I started drinking earlier in the morning. There was no work, right? So one time, anyways, what happened was I dropped the guy off. They started partying. I had to control my drinking. I said, man, I got to make it from Larghetto all the way to Palm Harbor. And I was scared to death every time I did it, too. Well, this time... all of a sudden, man, I broke down crying like a baby. I mean, the tears were flowing. I mean, so bad. I reached over to cut the windshield wipers, hoping this would see better. It didn't help at all. So anyways, I cried out to God. I said, God, you said knocking the door would be open. You said ask. I said, man, I'm knocking. I need some help here. I said, I can't. I felt like, I want to say a gerbil on the wheel, that wheel. But I was a rat on that wheel. And there was glass on each side. That glass was alcoholism. I wanted off so bad. I really wanted to stop. But I couldn't. I didn't know how to do it. So I cried out to God, and really nothing happened. This was the next day was Easter. I'd actually been planning to leave anyway because things were getting bad at the household. So, and we were supposed to go to hear my daughter talk at this sunrise service, right? And my wife came out, and her parents were picking us up. My wife came out right when they came up and beeped the horn. They were there, and I didn't get a chance to go get cleaned up. Right here, I'm reeking of alcohol, whatever. And she goes, "I guess you'll have to drive yourself." And they took off to church. I got in my truck and took off to Virginia to my extended family up there, with no intentions of quitting drinking, no intentions. So I get up to North Carolina, and I go to Williamsburg where my brother is. Now my brother, he is what we call a hypochondriac. Most of y'all know what that is, right? Okay, I didn't know. Anyways, it's a good way to get drugs because you're always getting operations. You know, my neck hurts. And, you know, my buddy calls it the doctor's cogwheel. You know, you go tell them you got something wrong, they'll help you out. They'll cut you open, right? So 37 surgeries my brother had. 37 surgeries, right? It's his knee, it's his neck. But anyways, so he would, I'm there with my brother drinking, having a good old time. And I guess I told him, you know, I'm trying to get sober. Because he gave me his big book. But anyways, you know, he'd take that stuff and then he could vacuum the whole house, all happy and stuff. And next thing you know, he'd run out because he'd taken too much of it, right? He says, he put on his neck brace. I got to go to the hospital. So like a good brother, I go with him, right? So we're sitting there for 5 hours in the hospital, right? And he's laying there like this. And then the doctor finally come in and they shoot him up and give him his stuff. And he pops up. All right, we can go now. And the doctor says, no. We got to take your blood pressure before you leave. And I said, well, you would take my blood. Now, I already knew this because I was 52 at the time I got sober. I was over at my buddy's house. We're both 52, both on blood pressure medicine. And his wife took my blood pressure. And she says, man, I can't even believe you're sitting here. So I just wanted to double check at the hospital, right? So anyways, they take my brother's blood pressure. And I said, well, do you mind taking mine? She says, no, we'll take your blood pressure. So she took it. Doctor said the exact same thing. I can't even believe you're sitting here. Right? So we leave there. You know, in my head, I guess God is steering me. But anyway, so I go down to my sister who lives in North Carolina. And we're going to the doctor there to get my blood pressure medicine filled. And right before I walked in, I kind of cry out to my sister. I said, Tricia, I've been drinking for 40 years. I've been doing pills for 30 years. I said, if I don't stop, I think I'm going to beat Dad to the grave. And my dad only made it to 56. Alcohol and smoking got him that early. But she said, why are you telling me all this? Like she did not need it in her life. But man, I got a good little sister. So what she did, she took me over to Greenville, North Carolina, right? And you have to go into the hospital emergency room, take your vitals and do all that stuff, see if they'll let you in a rehab. So they do that. And the guy goes, and the nurse goes, okay, you're clear to go into a rehab. But the problem is they don't have any room. I said, well, my God, if it's like this in Greenville, North Carolina, what's it like in L.A. and New York? Well, it's the same as it was in 2010, the same today, man. Them places, most of them are filled up, right? You treatment guys, right? It's the truth. It's hard to get into a place these days. So anyways, finally, they find me at this place out in Hosky, Virginia, Hosky, North Carolina, right on the Virginia line. 7 beds. I go out there, I'm in the middle of nowhere, right? And 7 beds, and this old black lady there, man, and you couldn't put nothing past this lady. She'd been there for years. She knew everything, every story you could tell her. So she hands me the sheet to put on my bed, right? So I take the sheet and I get like this to go on my bed, and I can see through it. Then I look down where it's going on this plastic little mattress that's all brown and yellow. Now, I didn't need to see that to not sleep for the 7 days I was in there. Now, I'm going to tell you the honest to God's truth. I don't even believe it myself anymore. I did not sleep for 2 months. I did not. Okay, some of y'all can relate. You know, I'd go up at night and I'd fall asleep in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, boom, wide awake all night, just could not go to sleep. So then the next day, you're all tired during the day, right? And then I'm not going to take a nap because I want to sleep tonight. I'm not going to take 2 months of this crap, man. It was crazy. My whole career, my whole first year, I describe myself as a walking zombie. I was a walking zombie. I had peripheral neuropathy in my feet. I could barely walk. Now, my sister nursed me for 2 months, right? And I finally, now this is where AA kicks in. You know, I started going to meetings. They were bringing them into the treatment center. I'll never forget the old black guy came in, had a pocket full of mints. He says, the only thing I know about alcohol, social drinking is so shall I. And I laughed too. I liked it. I said, man, it's all right, you know. So they brought the meetings there. They took us on the bus around to some old country meetings, man. And they were celebrating anniversaries, eating chocolate cake. It was a pretty good deal, man. So anyways, I started going to meetings. Now, here's one of the first things that ever happened to me in AA. This guy, I hear him at the meeting I'm going to, right, in North Carolina, about a week or two in. And I can relate to his story. He's all messed up on PCP, ran his motorcycle into a brick wall, broke every bone in his face, you know. And he says, I'll pick you up and take you to the meeting tomorrow night. And so I could really relate to his story. So he picks me up, I meet him somewhere, he takes me to the meeting. And then on the way back, we're sitting in his car, he's talking to me, you know, I'm walking zombie. And he says, he looks at me and he goes, I love you, man. Thanks for keeping me sober. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here, you know? It blew me away, you know. I didn't know what, the guy telling me he loves me and thanks for keeping him sober. I couldn't understand it. But, you know, about 2 years into sobriety, that has the most profound effect on my sobriety, what that guy did. And it was just a year ago, I was up there working, and I saw him again, and I said, man, you really, and I let him know how much what he did that day meant to me. And we're still in touch today, but, you know, it's the little things like that. So I'll never forget on the way back home, my kids flew up and we drove down. I mean, I went and made amends to them. You know, I'm 2 months into sobriety, made amends. I took them to a meeting and made amends in the meeting like I knew what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. But I'll never forget on the way back, we stayed somewhere and I went to a meeting and I saw on the steps, the guy, and this guy, I swear he committed murder and got away with it. God got him out of it. But it's a we program. We don't do this alone, you know? We get sponsored. You know what a sponsor's like? It's like, you know, they take you way out in the woods in the middle of nowhere and you don't know where you're at. Well, the sponsor, he flies over and he parachutes down and he says, hey man, I know the way out of here, I'll help you out. But, you know, we got to ask for the help. I don't know about you guys, but, you know, I didn't really want to get a sponsor. I said, well, can't we just go to meetings? You know, I'd look up there, you know, fearless and moral inventory. God, you know, the God stuff didn't scare me. You know, I was a drunk preacher, and they didn't really like that. but I'd let them know about it. But even in California, man, I remember going out there because my parents made me go to church. I hated it. Even today, I don't even feel comfortable in church. But that don't mean I don't study the Word. But so, anyways. I would cut on the TV out there and start watching them Sunday morning preachers, Fred Price, Joyce Myers, all them people. But I was always seeking. I'm always seeking. But still, I did not want to do the steps. I remember in my home group, Ozona is one of my home groups. I got the Sunday Night Live. I got like 5 home groups. Used to have 5. But I'm there one night, and this guy, and they're Nazis. There's got some Nazis down there, right? Big book thumping Nazis. So, right? So the guy says to me, I'm still walking zombie. He says, you still out there floundering without a sponsor? I said, well, yeah, some of us are flounders and others are sharks. I'm insinuating he's the shark and I'm the flounder, right? And he yelled at me. He goes, I don't know what you do for a living, but I know a lot more about alcoholism than you do. And I said, whoa. And I knew this much. I thought we were supposed to be learning to be humble in here, man. You know? Now, even in that same meeting, there's a guy there who does not believe in God. And he was a fisherman, right? And, you know, we're at a step meeting one night. And I'm sitting by the guy, and he leans over to me and goes, the steps are for wussies. And, you know, I didn't need to hear that. But and he didn't quite use that word. But the thing is, you know, this is what happened. So now I'm down at the Sunday Night Live group. I got 2 years. That first year, walking zombie. Second year, pink cloud. Y'all know how that goes, you know. And then life hits. So anyways, I'm at the Sunday Night Live group 2 years in. And some kid comes up and asks me to sponsor him. And I said, well, sure, I'll be your sponsor. Right? So I walk up, my sponsor was chairing up at Ozona. They're real close together. So I go up there. I said, Russell, oh my God, this kid just asked me to sponsor him. How can I sponsor? I ain't even been through the steps. How can I sponsor him? Now, right there at the desk, my then-to-be grand sponsor was sitting there. He said, why, son, don't you know we can do the steps in 4 one-hour sessions? I said, you're kidding me. Back to the basics. I heard y'all do it here. Last time I was here, y'all were doing it, I think. But anyways, that's the way I did it. You know, that's what I needed. I didn't know nothing. I couldn't figure it out. I'm still working on trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Now, so we go through all that, do it to the best of my ability. I'm here to tell you I got an F on my 4-step. I graded myself. You know, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But you know what? They say in that back to the basics, it says, no matter how you do it, just do it. You know, and I'll tell you, it's better to do a good one because then you spend the next 14 years trying to, you know, get it right. So anyways, you know, I stayed sober. I'm a one-chip wonder too, you know. And so here, you know, in AA now, love AA, man, love it. I was going to meetings for 10 years straight, meeting every night. Now I remember at like 6.5 years, you know how they read that vision to you? At a lot of meetings, and heard it 1,000 times. So one night I'm sitting there, they're reading it. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. For the first time, I said, well, I wonder how many people are doing that, because I'm not. And you know what? I started doing it. And you can believe this or not. The phone was ringing. People were calling me saying, I heard you're supposed to be my sponsor. I said, well, who told you that? And they'd say a name. I said, well, I don't even know that person. It was the craziest thing, you know. And you know how it is. We go through a lot of people, man. You gotta want this thing like a drowning person wants a life preserver. You gotta be at your bottom. That's just the way it is. You have to be at your bottom. The problem is we get to the bottom, get out the jackhammer. Let's keep on getting it. You know? That stuff has such a command on you. That drugs and alcohol, it's amazing. But so anyways, about I'd say 9 years. One time I'm reading I think it's step 10. I don't know exactly where it is, but here I am really working on meditation, man. I'm going to a meditation meeting that starts 6:30 in the morning, right? 6:30 in the morning. I'm doing everything. You know, they meditate there for 17 minutes, man. It's a good meeting if you can get up that early. And I was a core member there. Now, my buddy, he still sends them to me. For some reason, I just can't make it anymore. But I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it back. So anyways, here I am working on meditation, and I read, and somewhere in the 12 and 12 it says, for each person, it's an individual adventure. That word adventure changed my whole outlook on meditation. Because here I am just really struggling at trying to do it right and thinking, you know, and man, I said, relax, make it an adventure, right? If you think about God, you're having a conscious contact. All he really wants to do is talk to you. You know, I look back over the many years, the times where he was there. Like the time I was in Mexico when I was out there in California, right? And I wake up in this Mexican's van, puke and piss all over myself. And the guy kicks me. He can't take the smell anymore. He says, time to get up. I said, whoa. He says, I felt like I had to help someone. I said, thank God it was me, man. Now, today, I really believe, this is just meditating on what was happening there, that guy had in the past hurt people before and had to change of ways. And he really wanted it. I got Victor Romez. I'll never forget his name. You know, he became good friends. Every time I went there, he had a place on the beach, a trailer, which is kind of, I was used to that. And, but anyways, a place to stay, you know, and became good friends. But that was just one time. I mean, I could have woke up dead. Just many, many times, God was protecting me. And it was for this reason, man, to get into this program. You know, we ask ourselves, what is God's will for me? Well, we know what it is. It's to go help another suffering alcoholic. That's the way this whole thing started, with Bill and Bob, man. One guy talking to another. You know, I love the AA history. There's a guy that you don't hear too much about. His name is Ed Andy. Now, Ed Andy was outside of Akron, Ohio, in a small town. And as a kid, he used to watch all the town drunks, right? Grow up and get messed up. You know, he'd watch them all, stumble and fall, and lose their family or whatever. And he said, I'll never be like that. Well, he grew up to be even worse. And he knew he had a problem with drinking. This guy, if you hear his story, it's unbelievable. But his whole story is on miracles. That's the way he said, miracles. Hillbilly accent out there. But he would go out in the woods, pulling bark off trees, trying to get sober. He'd pray. He'd pray on his knees till his knees were bleeding. Unbelievable. And finally, one day, God spoke to him. This is the gospel truth according to him, his story on this tape that you can barely understand. But so anyways, God says, I want you to pick your family up and move to Akron, Ohio. And he did that. And he says, there you're going to meet a well-dressed man. So that's all he heard. And he went there. For 12 days, he walked the streets of wherever he was. He was on the outskirts. And it was the bootlegging days. And for 12 days, he said, God, you said I would meet a well-dressed man. 12th day, no well-dressed man. He walks into the bootlegger, orders a drink, sitting down, and in walks Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob grabs a drink, sits down. He says, because Smitty, Dr. Bob, they weren't even given a real first name. In fact, they called him Smitty. He said, you're the well-dressed man God told me I would meet. And Dr. Bob took a sip of his drink, and he says, that's interesting. Meet me back here next week. So next week he went back. Dr. Bob didn't show. I think the next week he showed. But anyways, this guy became one of Dr. Bob's sponsees. He ended up going out to the West Coast. He worked out there doing movie stuff. And he started groups in Arizona, New Mexico, California. He ended up being Lawrence Welks' sponsor and Bob Hope's sponsor. And I think they have a museum of his stuff out in Akron, Ohio somewhere. But anyways, if you ever talked about, I got a bunch of information about Carl Jung, who, we know that Roland Hazard went out there in 1931. This is where AA started. 1931, he went to Switzerland. He was going to see Sigmund Freud, but he wasn't there or wouldn't take him, whatever the case may be. And he goes to Carl Jung, and he stays there for a year. And he gets sober, right? And he says, you're the hopeless variety. So on the way back to America, he stops and sees some friends in France, and they celebrate his recovery with some wine, and he gets drunk again, and he goes back, and he says, "What, Dr. Jung, what can I do? I can't stay sober. I can't stay sober." And this is where Dr. Jung says, and then he didn't even want to say it. A religious experience is the only thing I've seen. We call it a psychic change today, but that's the way they said it back then. And he didn't want to say that. So anyways, Roland left, went back to America. All he wanted to do at this time was stay sober, just so his mom could see him sober. Came from a very affluent family. Just, back then those guys were, stockbrokers and doctors, and they were very affluent people. So anyways, Dr. Jung said that this thing is synchronicity. If certain people weren't, if he didn't go there, how much time I got? Okay, it looks like, according to that thing, about 7 minutes. All right. Might be getting ahead of myself here. So the other night, I'm at was it last night? What night? We were at a step meeting. Wednesday night. We're at a step meeting, and I saw something in step 7. We're in step 7. And I'd seen it before, and it meant a lot to me, but I forgot about it and hadn't seen it in a long time. It says there, refusing to ask God for help. I can't remember now. We deprive ourselves of his help. Refusing to put God first, we deprive ourselves of his help. This is a God-given program. If you read the history of that synchronicity, I'm going to get it to you one day. And I appreciate you asking me to speak up here, Caleb. And I appreciate the group. But, if so many things didn't happen, we wouldn't be here today. it's just amazing. This is God inspired, and I always read this thing at the end, and I want to read it before I forget. And I got a few of them up here if anybody wants one. But and it's not the end, but who cares? I'm gonna read it anyway. See, this is for all right. And another thing is, I just I've in the past few years I've kind of one time I heard Clancy I talk, and he says for 2 years he says I couldn't take them AA people anymore. He had to take a break for 2 years, and I could kind of relate to that, So I've been kind of 10 years going to meeting every night. That's a little much. Same people, same group. And it's probably my fault. Maybe I should go to different groups. But anyways, I backed off a little bit. Now, don't be disheartened, because I'm going to tell you in a minute what I did. But let me read this. All right, no, I'll tell you first. I just went to a lottery for a treat. Now, Jonathan's in here. I used to go see Jonathan up at Axe. And love that guy, man. He would sit there. He's got a sponsor here. And I'd come in and have everything set up. And a lot of times you go there and the readings are all gone. Just, man, we don't know where they are. There's 65 people in there, man. It's basically a jail diversion type deal. But, and they don't care, man. They're all sitting in the back. Some of them do. Some of them do. I love going to treatment center and going, well, how many of y'all been in here over 5 times? So many hands will go up. I go, what about 10 times? A few more hands will go up. I remember one time I was in a treatment center and the guy goes, this is my 19th time. He's in a wheelchair. He decided to walk in front of a car before he got there this time. That's what alcohol and drugs will do to you. What is that saying I just read? The alcoholic commits suicide by the installment plan. I'll never forget that guy I used to drink with. Once I got sober, he would say, I'm so proud of you, man. You're kind of like my sponsor. I'd say, all right, buddy, wants to go to meet with me. Oh, no, I'm not going to any meetings. It was crazy. This guy was crazy. But anyways, I went to the lottery. I picked up 3 more commitments. Because that's what I love to do. I love to go talk to the people, man. And these guys do it here. I love these guys, man. They get out and that's where the seeds are planted. That's where the harvest is reaped. You got to get them guys. But you know what? They got to want it. They got to want it. Or it might be 10, 15, how many times. But for the guys who are ready, God in his wisdom selected this group of men and women to be the purveyors of his goodness. In selecting them, though whom to bring about this phenomenon, he went not to the proud, not to the mighty, not to the famous or the brilliant. He went instead to the humble, to the sick, to the unfortunate. He went right to the drunkard, the so-called weakling of the world. Well, might he have said unto us, unto you, weak and feeble hands, I entrust to you a power beyond estimate. To you has been given that which has been denied from your most learned of fellows, not to scientists, not to statesmen, not to wives, not to mothers, not even to priests or ministers. I have given you the gift of healing other alcoholics, which I entrust to you. Get chills every time I read it, man. I got some of these up here if y'all want them. But, so yeah, I'm staying committed, man. I love going in and talking to the new guy, just like that guy did with me that time. He had 30 years of sobriety at that time. He sat in that car with me. He had just he came in at 29. Here he was, 59, getting ready to retire. And he loved nothing more than to go into a meeting and getting a new guy and taking him out and telling him he loved him, which blew me away, man. I love this program. I love the people in it. Man, we got a good thing going here. And I hope any of you guys struggling with drinking and drugging, you will do what it takes. I mean, it's so simple. You just got to find somebody that you like what they got. Ask them to be your sponsor. You can fire them if you don't like them, if you get a resentment. But do get a sponsor. Get somebody else. Do whatever. But they're just there to help you. They don't want to see you going back to another rehab. They want, we're here to save lives, man. I mean, that's what it's all about. There's too many people dying of this disease. I mean, I'll never forget the first guy I sponsored. Well, not the first. Yeah, probably the first guy stuck with me. Let's put it that way. 2 years, man. that guy, we called him Coca-Cola Chris, man. And he came in and fat, jaundiced, eyes yellow. And he did the deal, man. He 2 years, we went through back to the basics. He had a 4-step like I'd never seen, man. He did it on a spreadsheet. He had character defects I'd never even heard of, man. You know? And he did it right. He did it right. And for 2 years, man, we were going to Tent City, to Safe Harbor, carrying this message around. And then one day, people were asking me at the meeting, they're going, well, where's Chris? And I go, well, I don't know. You know, I used to pick him up for 2 years straight, right? And he lived right on the way to the meeting. So I stopped by one day and I said, Chris, everybody's asking where you at, you know? And he says, oh, me and Jesus got this. And I could smell liquor on his breath. And I said, oh, okay. So anyways, I don't know what he wanted to do. I think I know what he wanted to do. But he went back out. 2 weeks later, he was dead. 47 years old. Was looking at a great inheritance. You know, had beautiful parents. It's just amazing what this disease can do to people. So, anyways, did I get the 5 minute sign? Sure looks like it's close to time. Can I close with my song? See, I could have done this talk in about a minute and a half, right? We got this thing called Rock Sober Fest down. They don't have it anymore, but I used to love to go to that thing. It was at Seminole Park, Lake Seminole Park, and they put up a mic and you'd go up there. One night I said, man, I got to write a song for that thing. I've written like 4 sobriety songs now. I was going to sing you my history song, but I don't think some of these people are quite ready for that. No, I'm going to sing you my life. Huh? Yeah? Okay. Well, I'm done. The drinking became no fun. I'm going to put the bottle down, turn my life around. I'm going to get this web unspun. When I was 13, a drinking machine, I was out for a little fun. Woke up the next morning with an aching head and my brother like a desert sun. I'm done. The drinking became no fun. I'm going to put the bottle down, turn my life around. I'm going to get this web unspun. In my 20s, found liquor was quicker, and that's what I had my sights set on. But a man with a gun said, no more fun. Time to go downtown, son. Hey, I'm done. The drinking became no fun. I'm going to put the bottle down, turn my life around. I'm going to get this web unspun. Later in life, I found myself further out of control. The liquor had won, I was all washed up, and the devil had my soul. I walked into a meeting, the people there were laughing and having fun. They said, come on in and sit right down, we'll get started with step 1. Hey, I'm done. The drinking became no fun. I'm gonna put the bottle down, turn my life around. I'm gonna go out and help someone. Thank you, guys.